The galaxy had always been a vast, organized place with rules, councils, and hierarchies that kept countless civilizations in line. The Galactic Council, a gathering of the most advanced and ancient races, had always prided itself on knowledge. No corner of the galaxy was too remote, no signal too faint for their scholars to track. But in the middle of their busy schedules, something unusual caught their attention. A tiny planet orbiting a modest yellow star, its signals almost laughably primitive by galactic standards. For years, it had been observed, logged, and mostly dismissed. But now, a new discovery made even the most experienced council members sit forward in their seats. It started with a signal, faint but consistent, echoing across the void. The signal contained strange mathematical patterns, fragments of messages, and traces of long-lost communications buried beneath layers of history. At first, the scholars treated it as a curiosity, an interesting anomaly with no real significance. After all, countless worlds sent out signals, and most turned out to be natural phenomena, or simple, harmless transmissions. But this one was different. It had depth, structure, and most importantly, it hid secrets. The council summoned its brightest linguists and cryptographers. They worked tirelessly for weeks, running simulations, cross-referencing every known language, code, and encryption method. Days turned into nights, and nights into cycles that felt endless. The scholars pored over every fragment, every pulse, every wave of data, hoping to find a pattern. What they eventually discovered left them stunned. Hidden within the signals was the planet's ancient name, a name long erased from Galactic. Memory dot when the true name was finally revealed. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. The Galactic Council was not easily surprised, yet this revelation caused a ripple of shock. The name itself seemed to hum with energy, carrying echoes of power that no one could have predicted. It was not just a label. It was a legacy, a mark, that had been hidden for countless generations. Those who understood the legends immediately felt a shiver run through them. The planet had always been underestimated, ignored, dismissed as a minor curiosity, but now it was clear that they had been wrong. Very wrong. The council members began whispering among themselves, their voices low and tense. Some feared that the planet's inhabitants were not merely clever, they might be dangerous. Others reminded the chamber that knowledge of a name alone did not grant power. Still, an undercurrent of unease spread like wildfire. Rumors circulated quickly. Stories of ancient events, long forgotten by most civilizations, resurfaced. Legends told of a species capable of extraordinary resilience, a species that had survived cataclysmic events and adapted in ways no one thought possible. Could this small, seemingly insignificant planet truly hold such secrets? Meanwhile, across the galaxy, news traveled faster than light. Council envoys carried the discovery from sector to sector, sparking panic and fascination alike. Some civilizations reacted with fear, immediately considering preemptive measures. They could not risk underestimating a world whose true name carried such weight. Others were curious, seeing potential for alliances or trade, eager to understand what humans could offer. Debate raged, but no consensus emerged. The discovery had shaken the galaxy to its core, and no one knew what to do next. Back on the planet itself, life went on as usual. People woke up to the rising sun, went about their daily tasks, built, worked, and laughed. The humans had no idea that the galaxy was watching them so closely. For them, this was just another ordinary day. Children ran through streets, families shared meals, and somewhere, an inventor tinkered with a new idea that might change the world. No one suspected that their planet's ancient name, long forgotten by its own people, was the subject of intense discussion in a distant council chamber, where civilizations older than their sun debated their worthiness. The council could not help but feel both awe and fear. They studied the history of the planet, piecing together fragments from old records, myths, and intercepted communications. Each discovery only deepened their unease. Humans had survived impossible challenges, natural disasters, internal conflicts, and social upheavals that would have destroyed other species. They had a history of turning weakness into strength, of finding unexpected solutions when all seemed lost. The Council began to realize that humans were unpredictable, and unpredictability was a dangerous trait in the vast, interconnected galaxy dot in the chambers. Tension grew. Some members argued that the humans must be controlled before they became a threat. They proposed sending observers, perhaps even subtle interventions to guide the species in directions the Council considered safe. Others warned against interference, pointing out that humans' adaptability might be their greatest strength, and any attempt to control them could backfire catastrophically. Arguments grew heated, voices raised, and for the first time in centuries, the Council was divided. The name of a single planet had caused a rift among civilizations that had considered themselves united in purpose. As the debates continued, some members took a different approach. They focused not on fear, but on curiosity. What if this planet, this species, had more to teach the galaxy than anyone realized? What if humans held answers to problems the Council had struggled with for millennia? These voices, however, were cautious, careful not to offend their more aggressive colleagues. The room remained a delicate balance of fear, respect, and uncertainty. And, while all this unfolded, humans continued their ordinary lives, blissfully unaware of the galactic storm brewing around them. For them, names held little power. They measured value by actions, achievements, and the bonds they shared with each other. Their world, with all its flaws and triumphs, continued spinning in its small corner of the universe. Yet, whether they realized it or not, the discovery of their planet's true name had placed them under the watchful eyes of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. By the end of the first cycle of investigation, the Council came to one chilling conclusion. They had been polite, cautious, and curious, but they had underestimated the humans. This small, seemingly insignificant species had survived, adapted, and thrived against all odds. Their true name was no longer a secret, and with it, a wave of fear swept across the chambers. The galaxy, for all its grandeur and knowledge, suddenly felt small and uncertain. Something about this tiny planet, this quiet, resilient species, had changed everything. Some Council members began to prepare contingency plans. They did not fully understand the humans, but they knew enough to be cautious. Observers were to be sent, diplomatic channels opened, and strategies developed for a range of possibilities. It was a moment of awakening and recognition that the galaxy's old assumptions could no longer hold. They had overlooked a force that was subtle, unpredictable, and potentially unstoppable. In the end, the planet remained unaware of the attention it had drawn. Life continued its rhythm. Storms came and went. Seasons changed. People celebrated victories and mourned losses, and the humans simply lived. They had no idea that their ancient name, long hidden, had caused shockwaves that rippled across star systems. The Galactic Council had learned a lesson they would never forget. Appearances could be deceiving, and even the smallest, quietest worlds might hold power that could shake the galaxy to its core. The discovery of Earth's true name had set events in motion that no one, not even the Council itself, could fully predict. The galaxy had been forced to pay attention, to reconsider its assumptions, and to acknowledge that something extraordinary existed in a small blue world where life, in all its ordinary brilliance, carried secrets that even the oldest civilizations had never imagined. And so, with the Council watching, debating, and preparing, life on Earth continued, blissfully unaware, completely human, and quietly extraordinary, in ways the galaxy was only beginning to understand. The revelation of Earth's true name had sent shockwaves across the Galactic Council, but the effects did not stop within the council chambers. Word spread quickly, as information always did in the galaxy, moving faster than light itself. By the time neighboring systems caught wind of the discovery, panic had already begun to settle in. Civilizations that had long considered themselves powerful now wondered if they had underestimated something beyond their understanding. The council members themselves were divided. Some insisted that immediate action was necessary to prevent a potential threat. Others argued that the humans were too small, too insignificant to worry about. Yet the fear lingered. In the grand halls of the council, debate raged for days. Elder scholars and military leaders argued in circles, each trying to assert their view. One faction demanded that the humans be observed discreetly but closely, while another faction suggested more direct measures, ranging from surveillance to subtle manipulation. Some voices called for a show of force, arguing that if humans were left unchecked, they might grow into a threat no one could stop. Others pointed out the dangers of arrogance, reminding their peers that humans had survived centuries of challenges that would have destroyed other species. Outside the council chambers, the galaxy buzzed with speculation. Traders, explorers, and diplomats whispered about Earth in corners of starports, space stations, and distant colonies. Stories spread like wildfire. Rumors of a species that could endure anything, that could survive disasters, that had secrets, hidden even from the stars themselves. Some dismissed these stories as exaggeration, the kind of fear-mongering that always followed powerful discoveries. Others, however, listened with growing unease. The name alone seemed to carry weight, a symbol of a world that might be far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Meanwhile, on Earth, life continued as it always had. The humans went about their daily routines, completely unaware that their planet had become the subject of cosmic fascination. Farmers tended their fields, engineers worked on new inventions, children played in parks and streets, and families shared meals. The Earthlings' lives were full of ordinary moments, some joyful, some challenging, but all deeply human. They did not know that a vast, powerful council of alien civilizations was debating their future, nor did they realize that they were seen as unpredictable, potentially unstoppable, and in some ways, terrifying. The council decided that emissaries would be sent to make contact with Earth. These were not ordinary envoys. They were chosen for their intelligence, diplomacy, and experience dealing with civilizations far older and more advanced than humans. Their instructions were precise. Establish communication, assess the planet's potential, and report back. Everything else was left to the judgment of the envoys. The council wanted answers, but feared provoking humans unnecessarily. They hoped for subtlety, but subtlety was a difficult task when dealing with a species they barely understood. When the first ships arrived in Earth's orbit, humans looked up in awe and confusion. The craft were unlike anything seen before, sleek, shining, and undeniably foreign. Scientists, journalists, and governments around the world scrambled to make sense of the arrival. Questions ran rampant. Who were they? What did they want? Were they friendly, or were they a threat? The humans could not comprehend the true significance of these visitors. To them, the ships were astonishing, but they did not yet grasp the fear and anticipation these ships had caused among civilizations across the galaxy. The emissaries attempted formal communication, using advanced translation systems and gestures, designed to convey peaceful intentions. Yet humans responded unpredictably. Some laughed at the strange appearance of the visitors, thinking them elaborate hoaxes. Others approached with caution, wary but curious. A few tried to engage seriously, offering words of welcome and questions in return. Each response left the emissaries more bewildered. They had expected fear, submission, or awe, but instead found something that was neither predictable nor orderly. The humans were curious, clever, and in some ways, boldly unafraid. Reports back to the council caused new waves of confusion and concern. Humans had not reacted as expected. Instead of panic or submission, they had displayed a mix of humor, resourcefulness, and a stubborn independence that left even the most seasoned council members unsure of what to do next. How could a species so small, so seemingly ordinary, appear so resilient and unshakable? The emissaries' accounts hinted at a strength that went beyond physical or technological capability. It was a strength of mind, of spirit, and of adaptability, traits that no council member had fully considered before. The galaxy's military strategists began analyzing Earth's defenses, natural and human-made, and their reports were unsettling. Humans had a history of overcoming disasters, of innovating when all hope seemed lost, and of surviving internal conflict that would have destroyed other species. While they had no interstellar fleet or weapons capable of mass destruction, their ingenuity and unpredictability made them a unique challenge. The council realized that strength did not always come from sheer power. Sometimes it came from resilience, creativity, and the ability to adapt in ways that no one could anticipate. Factional disagreements within the council deepened. Some members still urged caution, believing that humans must be controlled before they became dangerous. They proposed measures ranging from subtle interference to more direct oversight. Others strongly opposed any interference, warning that meddling with humans could trigger outcomes far worse than the council could imagine. The debates were intense, with no clear resolution. The humans' actions were simple, ordinary, and human, but their implications were vast, stretching across systems and civilizations that had long believed themselves secure. Amid all the council's worry, some members took a different perspective. They began to see humans not as a threat to be contained, but as a species worth studying, learning from, and perhaps even respecting. Humans had survived countless hardships, built societies from scratch, and innovated in ways that no other species had managed. Their unpredictability, once seen as a liability, now appeared as a remarkable strength. These voices urged patience, observation, and humility. After all, the humans had never asked for attention, yet the council now found themselves compelled to focus on a species they had long ignored. On Earth, humans remained blissfully unaware of their growing reputation. Life went on, markets opened, children went to school, friends met, and families shared their everyday moments. For them, the arrival of strange ships and unusual visitors was an event to discuss, analyze, and sometimes fear, but it did not carry the weight of cosmic significance. Their concerns were immediate and personal, understanding the unknown, protecting their homes, and figuring out what these visitors wanted. They had no idea that they had become a focal point for the galaxy, a species whose name now inspired both fear and fascination. The emissaries struggled to adapt to human unpredictability. Attempts at formal diplomacy often ended in confusion or humor. Humans asked questions the emissaries had not anticipated, challenged assumptions, and sometimes ignored instructions entirely. It was as if the humans were operating according to a logic entirely different from anything the galaxy had encountered. For the council, this unpredictability was unnerving. For the humans, it was simply life, the mix of curiosity, courage, and chaos that had always defined them. Back in the council chambers, tensions remained high. Analysts ran simulations, projected potential outcomes, and debated every human action and reaction. No scenario seemed completely safe. Every victory humans had achieved on their own planet, every display of resilience, added to the council's uncertainty. It was becoming clear that humans could not be predicted or controlled in the ways other species had been. Even the smallest, Decision on Earth could have consequences that spread far beyond the planet itself. Some council members began to prepare for a range of possibilities. Observers would monitor, messages would continue, and contingency plans would be refined. Every measure reflected both caution and respect, an acknowledgement that humans, though small, were unlike any other species the galaxy had encountered. It was a lesson in humility. Even civilizations with millions of years of history could be surprised, challenged, and forced to rethink their assumptions. Despite all this, humans lived their ordinary lives, completely unaware of how extraordinary they had become in the eyes of the galaxy. People went to work, laughed with friends, solved problems, and faced challenges with the resourcefulness that had always defined them. Every small act, the sharing of knowledge, the creation of something new, the simple act of surviving another, they showed the kind of resilience that the Council was only beginning to understand. By the end of the first wave of contact, the Council reached a tentative conclusion. Humans were not just a curiosity. They were a force of nature in their own right. The galaxy had assumed it knew how life worked, how civilizations evolved, and what power truly meant. Humans were challenging all of those assumptions. They were small, ordinary, and yet extraordinary in ways that no one had fully anticipated. The Council understood one simple truth. Earth could no longer be ignored, dismissed, or underestimated. Name of the planet, once hidden, had done more than. The arrival of the emissaries in Earth's orbit had caused excitement, confusion, and curiosity among humans. Some looked up at the ships with awe, imagining possibilities beyond their wildest dreams. Others were cautious, worried about the unknown intentions of these strange visitors. Scientists, government leaders, and ordinary citizens scrambled to make sense of the situation. Communication was difficult, but the humans' creativity and adaptability quickly became apparent. They were not passive observers. They asked questions, tested the technology, and tried to understand the intentions of the visitors in ways that surprised even the most experienced emissaries. The emissaries themselves were taken aback. They had expected fear, submission, or careful politeness. Instead, they found humans asking bold questions, challenging assumptions, and acting in ways that were unpredictable. Every action seemed to carry both curiosity and courage, as if humans were testing the boundaries of what they could safely explore. The emissaries reported back to the Galactic Council with increasing urgency. Humans were not what they had expected. They were clever, adaptable, and surprisingly fearless. Even the smallest mistakes in approach could lead to misunderstandings, yet humans seemed to navigate these challenges instinctively, responding with humor, intelligence, and resilience. Council members studied these reports carefully. Analysts ran simulations to predict human behavior, but every model failed. The humans were too unpredictable, too clever, and too adaptable to fit into the frameworks that the Council had used for centuries. Some factions began to panic, suggesting that the humans could not be trusted. They feared that, left unchecked, humans could grow into a force that the galaxy was unprepared to handle. Others argued that the humans' unpredictability was not necessarily a threat. They were resilient, yes, but not inherently aggressive. The debates intensified as the Council tried to find consensus on what actions to take next. Meanwhile, on Earth, humans had begun to establish their own understanding of the visitors. They observed the ships, studied the technology, and tried to communicate in ways that made sense to them. Some humans focused on diplomacy, seeking to establish contact and convey peaceful intentions. Others approached cautiously, analyzing every detail of the visitors' behavior. There were moments of tension when humans misinterpreted the emissaries' gestures or signals, but there were also moments of surprising connection when both sides understood each other intuitively. The interactions were unpredictable, sometimes humorous, and always fascinating to both humans and emissaries. As humans experimented with communication, they began to demonstrate skills that the emissaries had not anticipated. They improvised solutions, used logic in unexpected ways, and even displayed creativity that seemed to defy reason. One human engineer, for example, managed to use a small piece of Earth technology to interface with the emissaries' communication device, establishing a rudimentary understanding of their language. This breakthrough amazed the emissaries and forced them to rethink everything they thought they knew about humans. They realized that the humans were not only intelligent, but also capable of rapid adaptation, able to solve problems in ways that no model or prediction could anticipate. Back in the Galactic Council, the reports caused a stir. The humans were proving that they could not be controlled or predicted in the ways other civilizations had been. Some members of the Council argued for caution, warning that humans could become dangerous if provoked or underestimated. Others saw opportunity, suggesting that humans' ingenuity and adaptability could be a resource, perhaps even a model for other species to learn from. Still, the tension was palpable. Fear, curiosity, and admiration all mixed together as the Council tried to decide what to do next. The emissaries faced their own challenges on Earth. Humans were unpredictable, not only in intelligence, but also in emotion. They responded with humor, anger, curiosity, and sometimes defiance. Every interaction was a test, revealing aspects of human nature that the emissaries had never encountered. They realized that humans were not easily intimidated. Attempts to display technological superiority, for example, often backfired. Humans responded with ingenuity, sometimes using simple tools or strategies to counter what the emissaries considered advanced tactics. The emissaries began to appreciate that human strength lay not in technology, but in their minds, their creativity, and their courage. Humans, in turn, were learning quickly about the emissaries. They noticed patterns in behavior, studied responses, and began to anticipate actions before they happened. It was a delicate dance of observation and adaptation, with humans relying on intuition, logic, and a natural sense of curiosity. They did not yet know the full significance of their interactions or the impact of their behavior on the wider galaxy. To them, it was a challenge, a puzzle, and an adventure all at once. To the emissaries, it was a revelation, a clear sign that humans were far more than the small, insignificant species they had initially assumed. As days passed, humans began to display a collective intelligence that amazed the emissaries. They shared information rapidly, collaborated across cities and countries, and developed strategies for communication and interaction that were both innovative and effective. They solved problems quickly, adapted to new situations, and learned from mistakes in real time. The emissaries reported these developments to the Council, noting that humans' ability to adapt and innovate was unlike anything they had encountered in their long histories of interstellar observation. The Council's tension grew as they realized the humans' true potential. Analysts warned that the species' resilience and creativity could make them a formidable force if ever challenged. Military strategists debated the risks, considering scenarios in which humans might act unpredictably, disrupt plans, or even resist control. Some members began to advocate for a new approach, one that combined observation with cautious diplomacy. The idea was to learn from humans, understand their capabilities, and avoid provoking a species that could become dangerous if underestimated. Humans, unaware of these deliberations, continued their everyday lives, guided by curiosity and a desire to understand. They celebrated small victories, laughed at unexpected outcomes, and shared knowledge in ways that connected them more deeply than ever. Their interactions with the emissaries became a form of learning, testing, and adaptation. Each encounter revealed more about human nature, their courage, creativity, resilience, and capacity for collaboration. The humans were teaching the emissaries lessons about problem-solving, adaptation, and thinking outside conventional limits. The Council recognized that humans were shaping their own destiny in ways that no external force could predict. The planet, once considered insignificant, had proven itself a center of innovation, adaptability, and intelligence. The name of the planet, once hidden, was no longer just a label. It represented a species capable of survival, growth, and influence far beyond its apparent size or technological level. The Council realized that they had underestimated humans, and the consequences of that underestimation could be profound. Tensions within the Council persisted. Some feared that humans' unpredictability could lead to conflict, while others believed that the species' creativity and resilience offered potential benefits. Debate raged over whether to continue subtle observation or to attempt more direct engagement. The complexity of the situation became clearer every day. Humans were intelligent, adaptable, and capable of influencing events in ways the Council could not yet foresee. They were no longer a curiosity, they were a species demanding respect, caution, and careful consideration. Back on Earth, life carried on. Humans went about their routines, unaware of how closely the galaxy watched them. They built, created, learned, and interacted with the curiosity and courage that defined their species. They did not yet know the full significance of the attention they had drawn, but their actions and decisions were already shaping perceptions across star systems. The humans were unknowingly teaching the galaxy a lesson. Strength was not always about power or technology. It was about adaptability, creativity, and the courage to face the unknown. By the end of the third cycle of interaction, the Council had learned a difficult truth. Humans were not easily categorized, predicted, or controlled. They were a species of contradictions, fragile, yet resilient, ordinary, yet extraordinary, small, yet capable of great influence. The emissaries' reports had forced the Council to reconsider centuries of assumptions. Humans were unpredictable, adaptable, and clever, and that made them a species to be studied, respected, and perhaps most importantly, never underestimated. The discovery of Earth's true name, once a curiosity, had led to a deeper understanding of humans' potential. The interactions with the emissaries revealed qualities that were not visible from afar: intelligence, adaptability, resilience, creativity, and courage. Humans were shaping their own destiny, and in doing so, they were forcing the galaxy to acknowledge their importance. The Council had begun to see that Earth was no longer a minor planet in a vast galaxy. It was a world with a species whose actions could have consequences far beyond their own planet. And so, while humans continued their ordinary lives, the galaxy had begun to change its perspective. Fear, curiosity, respect, and caution mixed. The more the Galactic Council learned about humans, the less certain they became. Reports from the emissaries kept arriving, describing behaviors and actions that no one had predicted. Humans were clever, resourceful, and fearless in ways that challenged centuries of assumptions. Yet the Council could not ignore the possibility that this unpredictability might one day become a threat. Slowly, unease turned into tension, and tension into serious concern. Discussions that had once been theoretical were now about real, immediate risks. Council members debated openly, their voices echoing through the massive chamber. Some argued that humans must be contained before they could grow beyond the Council's control. "We cannot leave them unchecked," one elder said. "A species so adaptable, so clever, could become a threat far greater than any we have faced. They must be observed constantly, and we must be prepared for action." Others countered, warning that humans' uniqueness was not necessarily a danger. Their strength is not in weapons or fleets, but in resilience and creativity. Interfering too soon could provoke consequences we cannot imagine. Amid these debates, Military strategists presented scenarios for a potential conflict with Earth. They mapped the planet, analyzed resources, and projected human responses based on every observation they had so far. Yet every model produced uncertainty. Humans were unpredictable. They adapted to situations too quickly, found solutions where none seemed possible, and acted in ways that defied logic. The Council realized that humans' greatest strength was not power, but adaptability. It was a quality that no simulator, no projection, and no ancient strategy could account for. As the Council debated, humans continued their lives. They went to work, tended to families, built communities, and solved problems in their ordinary human ways. Natural disasters were met with courage, challenges with persistence, and failures with determination. Every small act, every daily decision, revealed a species capable of turning adversity into opportunity. To the Council, this was both fascinating and frightening. How could a species so ordinary on the surface hold such extraordinary resilience? The emissaries tried again to communicate, bringing with them gifts of technology, knowledge, and diplomacy. They sought to establish dialogue, to learn more about humans and gauge their potential. But the humans responded in ways that confounded even the most sophisticated alien minds. They asked unexpected questions, joked about strange situations, and improvised solutions in ways that were ingenious yet simple. Each encounter highlighted humans' unpredictability. The emissaries reported back with increasing urgency. Humans could not be controlled, could not be predicted, and perhaps could not be intimidated. Council factions began to take different approaches. Some believed that a show of power was necessary to assert control. They wanted to demonstrate that humans were not invincible, that the Council still held authority over the galaxy. Others cautioned against aggression. They argued that humans were too clever and adaptable to face direct threats without consequences. Provoking them could lead to outcomes that no one had considered, and the Council had no clear strategy to contain such a species. Fear and caution mingled in every discussion. Meanwhile, humans continued to demonstrate remarkable ingenuity. Engineers modified technology in ways that impressed the emissaries. Scientists observed natural phenomena and developed theories that were clever, resourceful, and sometimes completely unconventional. Communities solved problems through collaboration, combining creativity with practicality. Even when faced with confusion or danger, humans found ways to adapt and respond with intelligence and courage. The emissaries began to realize that humans' true power lay not in their weapons, tools, or technology, but in their minds and their ability to face the unknown. The Council observed in growing apprehension. Across star systems, rumors circulated about Earth and its inhabitants. Stories of humans' resilience, creativity, and unpredictability spread like wildfire. Some civilizations felt admiration, others anxiety. The more humans demonstrated their abilities, the less certain anyone could be about what they might achieve next. The Council began to understand that a species like this could never be fully anticipated or controlled. Humans were small, ordinary in appearance, but their potential was immense, and it could not be measured by conventional standards. Tension escalated as some Council members proposed contingency plans. They suggested establishing monitoring systems, preparing defensive measures, and even sending additional emissaries to assess Earth more closely. Provoking humans could have unpredictable and dangerous consequences. The Council was caught between two extremes: action and observation, fear and curiosity, control and respect. Every choice seemed fraught with risk. Humans, of course, remained largely unaware of these cosmic deliberations. They went about their lives focusing on challenges that were, when they interacted with the emissaries, they approached the situation with intelligence, humor, and boldness. They asked questions the visitors could not answer, found flaws in explanations, and tested new methods of communication. They solved problems creatively, often using simple resources in ways that seemed brilliant to the alien observers. Their ingenuity only deepened the Council's uncertainty. Council members could not ignore the lessons they were learning. Humans were clever, adaptable, and capable of responding to situations in ways that no other species could. They turned. The Council realized that humans' unpredictability was both a threat and a marvel. They could not be dismissed, underestimated, or controlled, and this made planning for the future extraordinarily complex. As the debate continued, some factions proposed a middle ground, cautious observation combined with measured engagement. The idea was to continue studying humans, learning from them, and avoiding provocation. The Council hoped this approach would provide insight into the species' capabilities without triggering conflict. Yet even this cautious strategy required careful planning. Humans' responses were too unpredictable to assume any outcome, and any misstep could have consequences across the galaxy. The emissaries returned frequently, documenting human behavior, reporting on social organization, problem-solving skills, and resilience in the face of challenges. Every new observation revealed a layer of complexity and capability that was impossible to ignore. Humans' intelligence was not only practical, but creative, flexible, and adaptable. They did not rely solely on technology or brute force. They relied on thinking, intuition, and collaboration. The Council realized that a species that could turn ordinary circumstances into extraordinary results had the potential to reshape galactic expectations entirely. The humans themselves remained unaware of the galaxy's fear. Life on Earth continued, families shared meals, friends solved problems together, and communities overcame challenges in ways that seemed ordinary yet extraordinary. Humans' intelligence, courage, and creativity were natural, everyday qualities. For them, but for the Council, these same qualities were a source of both awe and anxiety. The emissaries continued to learn, documenting the humans' ability to innovate, adapt, and survive. Each report reinforced the Council's growing realization. Humans could not be underestimated. As weeks passed, Council members understood that the humans' unpredictability required a complete reassessment of strategy. Traditional measures of power, control, and diplomacy were insufficient. The humans had proven that they could respond in unexpected ways, adapt quickly, and innovate, solutions that no simulator or theory could anticipate. The Council faced a species that was not only intelligent, but capable of independent problem-solving on a scale that rivaled entire civilizations. The tension in the Council chamber grew. Debates became heated, voices rose, and caution and fear mingled with admiration. Some argued that humans should be left alone, observed but not interfered with. Others insisted that the Council must establish limits before humans' influence spread further. The arguments reflected a deeper truth. Humans were unlike anything the galaxy had encountered before. They were ordinary in appearance, but extraordinary in their abilities, and that combination was as powerful as it was unpredictable. On Earth, humans continued to live their daily lives. They did not yet understand the cosmic significance of their actions, nor did they anticipate the consequences of their ingenuity. They solved problems, created tools, and faced challenges with courage and intelligence. They were unaware that every small act, every solution, every adaptation, every creative approach was being observed and analyzed by civilizations far more powerful than themselves. The humans were shaping their own story, completely human in their actions, yet unknowingly influencing the galaxy itself. By the end of this period of observation, the Council had come to an important realization. Humans were resilient, intelligent, and adaptable in ways that could not be fully understood or predicted. They could respond to threats, solve problems, and innovate in ways that no other species had. Traditional assumptions about control and power no longer applied. Humans had proven that their strength lay not in technology or numbers, but in creativity. The humans continued their lives, unaware of the galactic attention they had drawn. Yet in every city, town, and village, ordinary actions began to reveal extraordinary potential. They adapted to challenges with remarkable intelligence. A natural disaster struck a coastal city, and within hours, people organized shelters, created emergency communication networks, and found innovative ways to distribute resources. Engineers and builders improvised equipment, while volunteers coordinated rescue efforts. The speed, creativity, and effectiveness of their response left the Galactic Council stunned. The emissaries were astonished. They had expected humans to struggle, to falter under pressure, yet the humans acted with unity and ingenuity. The Council's analysts pored over reports, running simulations to understand how humans achieved such results. Every model failed. Humans did not follow predictable patterns. They solved problems in ways that no other species had ever demonstrated. Each victory, however small on Earth, resonated across the galaxy as proof that humans were not ordinary. They were adaptable, resourceful, and capable of turning adversity into strength. Even on a smaller scale, humans continued to demonstrate unexpected abilities. Scientists discovered solutions to problems that had baffled experts for years. Farmers innovated methods to increase crop yields without relying on advanced technology. Communities devised ways to maintain order and cooperation in situations that would have descended into chaos on other worlds. The emissaries reported these developments to the Council, emphasizing the humans' capacity for rapid innovation and independent thinking. It was becoming clear that human strength did not lie in weapons or fleets. It lay in their creativity, intelligence, and resilience. Across the council chambers, fear and admiration intertwined. Some members worried that humans could not be controlled and might one day surpass civilizations that had existed for thousands of years. Others argued that the humans' unpredictability was not a threat, but a lesson in ingenuity. The council realized that humans operated on a level of adaptability that could not be easily measured. The species had evolved strategies for survival that no technology or predictive model could fully anticipate. Even the smallest human decisions could have far-reaching consequences. Meanwhile, humans continued their ordinary interactions with the emissaries, unaware that they were demonstrating the very abilities that unnerved the council. When presented with alien technology, humans found ways to use it effectively, often in ways the emissaries had not intended. They combined information from multiple sources, improvised solutions on the spot, and adapted quickly to changing circumstances. Humor, curiosity, and courage guided their decisions. What might have seemed chaotic to an outside observer was, in fact, a form of intelligence uniquely human. The council watched closely as humans began to influence events beyond their own planet. Their problem-solving skills and ingenuity allowed them to coordinate global initiatives, develop new technologies, and navigate complex situations with creativity and cooperation. Even minor innovations had ripple effects. A new energy system, a novel medical solution, or a logistical improvement spread rapidly, transforming communities and inspiring further creativity. Analysts marveled at the humans' ability to learn, adapt, and thrive in ways that seemed effortless. Military strategists in the council grew increasingly concerned. Humans had no massive interstellar fleets, no weapons capable of galaxy-level destruction, yet their resilience and ingenuity made them unpredictable opponents. They could survive situations that would devastate other species and turn disadvantages into advantages. Any attempt to control or intimidate humans, the strategists warned, could backfire spectacularly. The human's strength was subtle, but undeniable, and it demanded respect. Even the emissaries began to recognize the humans' power not as conquerors or warriors, but as a species that could solve problems, adapt rapidly, and survive in ways the galaxy had not considered. Their ingenuity was not mechanical or technological alone. It was strategic, social, and emotional. Humans could think independently, innovate collectively, and respond to challenges with a flexibility that defied calculation. The Council realized that human potential extended far beyond what they had imagined. While humans went about their daily lives, their actions inspired both fear and admiration across the galaxy. Other civilizations began to notice the humans' abilities, often through reports from the Council or emissaries. Some saw opportunity, hoping to learn from the humans' resourcefulness. Others felt anxiety, recognizing that humans' adaptability made them a species that could not be underestimated. The humans, without intending to, were shaping the galaxy's perception of them, slowly transforming their reputation from a minor planet to a species worthy of attention and respect. Council faced a dilemma. They could attempt to intervene, impose control, or guide humans, but each strategy carried risk. Humans had demonstrated an ability to adapt to unexpected challenges, find solutions under pressure, and think creatively. Any direct interference could provoke responses that the Council could not predict. Observation, patience, and learning became the preferred strategy, even among those who had advocated for control. The humans were unlike any other species encountered before. They could not be constrained or fully understood, and any attempt to do so could backfire. Humans' ordinary lives continued to reveal extraordinary abilities. Communities faced environmental crises, economic challenges, and social tensions. Yet they navigated these difficulties with cooperation, creativity, and resilience. Engineers, scientists, and everyday citizens improvised solutions that combined logic, intuition, and ingenuity. Even in personal struggles, humans demonstrated adaptability and problem-solving skills that amazed the emissaries. It became clear that human strength was not measured by raw power, but by their ability to learn, innovate, and overcome adversity. Reports from the emissaries painted a picture of a species that was unpredictable, yet remarkably capable. The Council debated how to respond, weighing fear against respect. Humans had proven they could adapt to any situation, anticipate challenges, and innovate solutions rapidly. Traditional methods of measuring strength, military power, technological advancement, or population were irrelevant. Humans' true strength was in their intelligence, creativity, and resilience, qualities that no civilization had fully accounted for before. The Council slowly began to understand that humans' unpredictability was both a threat and a marvel. It was a threat because humans could not be controlled or constrained in the ways other species could. Yet it was a marvel because humans embodied qualities that many civilizations had lost or taken for granted. Courage, curiosity, ingenuity, and the ability to turn adversity into opportunity. These traits made humans a species that could shape the future in ways the Council could not yet imagine. Meanwhile, humans remained blissfully unaware of their growing reputation. They continued to build, solve problems, learn, and live their daily lives. Children played, workers innovated, communities collaborated, and individuals took risks that led to discoveries, improvements, and solutions. Every small action demonstrated resilience, intelligence, and creativity. Humans did not know that their actions were changing the galaxy's perception of them, nor did they anticipate the consequences of their ingenuity. The Council realized that humans were capable of far more than anyone had imagined. A species once considered insignificant had demonstrated extraordinary potential. They adapted to challenges, innovated under pressure, and solved problems in ways that defied prediction. They had survived disasters, social upheavals, and challenges that would have destroyed other civilizations. The Council understood that humans were not just clever, they were extraordinary in their ability to survive. adapt, and innovate. As weeks turned into months, humans continued to demonstrate their capabilities. Communities built resilience into their systems. Scientists developed new technologies, and ordinary citizens contributed to solutions in ways that showcased ingenuity and creativity. The emissaries documented these achievements, sharing them with the Council. Each report reinforced the lesson. Humans were not ordinary. They were a species that could influence events far beyond their planet, and their potential could not be underestimated. The Council debated how to approach this revelation. Intervention carried risk. Observation required patience. Humans were intelligent, adaptable, and resourceful, capable of responding to challenges in ways the Council could not predict. Any misstep could provoke unintended consequences. The Council concluded that the best strategy was to observe and learn to respect humans' capabilities and to avoid interference unless absolutely necessary. Humans had proven themselves worthy of attention, and any attempt to underestimate them could be disastrous. In the end, humans continued their daily lives, unaware that their actions were being watched and analyzed across the galaxy. They faced challenges with courage, adapted to adversity with creativity, and innovated in ways that amazed both emissaries and Council members. Each small victory, every clever solution, and every act of resilience added to their growing reputation. Humans were showing the galaxy that strength was not measured by size, technology, or power, but by intelligence, creativity, courage, and by the time the Galactic Council had gathered all their emissaries' reports, the full picture of humanity had become clear. Humans were not just clever or resourceful, they were extraordinary in ways that no civilization had anticipated. Every challenge, every crisis, every ordinary moment of life on Earth had revealed a species capable of surviving, adapting, and thriving against all odds. The Council could no longer ignore the implications. Humans had become a force that demanded respect, caution, and careful observation. The emissaries' final reports left the Council in awe. Humans had faced disasters that would have destroyed other species and had not only survived, but found ways to grow stronger through the experience. Communities had worked together to solve problems that seemed insurmountable. Individuals had improvised solutions that no algorithm or simulation could predict. The humans' ability to innovate, adapt, and persevere was unparalleled. The Council realized that they had underestimated humanity, and that underestimation could have grave consequences if not corrected. Debates in the Council chamber reached a new level of intensity. Some members argued that humans should be observed from afar, their actions monitored but left unchecked. They are clever, one member said, but they are still young, still limited. Observation is safer than interference. Others disagreed vehemently. We have already underestimated them, another voice argued. Their unpredictability makes them a potential threat if we assume control. We must prepare, or we may regret it. Even the smallest provocation could trigger responses that could ripple across the galaxy. Outside the Council chambers, the galaxy had begun to whisper the name of Earth and its inhabitants with a mixture of awe and fear. Civilizations that had once dismissed the planet as insignificant now studied reports, analyzed patterns, and speculated on the humans' true capabilities. Traders, explorers, and scholars shared stories of human ingenuity, resilience, and adaptability. Even the most advanced civilizations, those that had long prided themselves on technological or strategic superiority, began to recognize that humans were exceptional in ways that could not be fully quantified. Humans themselves remained blissfully unaware. Life on Earth continued in its usual rhythm. Farmers tilled their fields, teachers taught children, engineers designed solutions to every day. Problems and communities faced challenges with courage and determination. Ordinary routines, simple acts of kindness, and creative problem-solving defined their lives. Every choice humans made, every problem they solved, was a demonstration of the very qualities that had caught the Council's attention: resilience, intelligence, creativity, and courage. The emissaries found themselves increasingly impressed by humans. What had started as observation became a study in humility. Humans could take limited resources and turn them into solutions. They could navigate complex social systems, solve problems collaboratively, and innovate under pressure. They were resourceful, adaptable, and daring, yet also capable of compassion and cooperation. The Council began to understand that human strength lay not in weapons or numbers, but in qualities that could not be measured or controlled: intelligence, creativity, and the ability to adapt in ways no one had anticipated. The Council realized that humanity's unpredictability was a defining characteristic. Humans did not follow patterns, did not act according to logic alone, and did not conform to expectations. Their decisions were guided by curiosity, ingenuity, emotion, and social cooperation. Attempts to model or predict their behavior had consistently failed. Even minor actions, such as solving a technical problem or coordinating a community project, revealed levels of adaptability that far exceeded the Council's initial estimates. The human strength was subtle but formidable, and it demanded a new way of thinking about intelligence, strategy, and survival. Some factions within the Council had once advocated caution, believing humans could be managed or contained if approached carefully, but repeated observation had forced them to reconsider. Humans were not simply clever, they were capable of turning disadvantage into advantage, chaos into opportunity, and uncertainty into innovation. Their resourcefulness and unpredictability could not be constrained without risking consequences that no one could foresee. The Council came to understand that humans were a species that must be respected, studied, and understood, not controlled. As humans continued their lives on Earth, they demonstrated qualities that the galaxy had rarely seen. Communities organized themselves efficiently in crises. Individuals solved problems using intuition and ingenuity, and societies adapted rapidly to unexpected challenges. Humans could improvise, collaborate, and innovate at every level, from personal to global. Their resilience was evident not only in survival, but in the way they learned from failure, adjusted strategies, and grew stronger with every experience. The Council observed, and every new report reinforced the lesson: humans were extraordinary. One of the most striking realizations for the Council was the humans' ability to remain ordinary while achieving extraordinary results. To humans, their actions were daily life, routine problem-solving, and adaptation. Yet from a galactic perspective, these same actions demonstrated qualities that made them unpredictable, formidable, and unique. The humans' creativity, courage, and ingenuity were not tools for conquest. They were intrinsic to their nature. The Council realized that the true power of humans was hidden in plain sight: ordinary behavior approached with intelligence and adaptability could create extraordinary outcomes. Council members reflected on past assumptions and mistakes. They had once believed that size, technology, and fleets determined strength. Humanity had proven that intelligence, creativity, adaptability, and resilience were far more decisive. The emissaries' observations had shattered centuries of convention. The Council could no longer categorize humans as weak, insignificant, or controllable. Instead, they had to acknowledge a species capable of shaping its destiny in ways that the galaxy had not yet fully comprehended. At this point, the Council agreed on a new approach. Observation and learning would continue, but interference would be limited to cases of direct threat. Humans were not to be underestimated, challenged recklessly or provoked. The Council's strategy shifted from control to understanding, from dominance to cautious respect. They recognized that humans' unpredictable intelligence and resilience could influence the galaxy far beyond their planet, and they would need to remain vigilant and humble in their interactions. On Earth, humans went about their lives as if nothing had changed. Yet their actions continued to reveal the extraordinary within the ordinary. Children learned through curiosity. Adults solved problems creatively, and communities coordinated to overcome adversity. Every act of cooperation, innovation, and courage highlighted qualities that made humans remarkable. They were unaware that their daily lives were shaping perceptions across star systems, teaching civilizations lessons about resilience, intelligence, and adaptability. The Council understood that humans were capable of more than they could have imagined. Even small acts of ingenuity or problem-solving revealed levels of creativity and resourcefulness that no other species had demonstrated. Humans' capacity to learn from mistakes, adapt to circumstances, and find innovative solutions to complex problems became central to the Council's understanding of potential threats and opportunities. In every report, humans emerged as a species that could survive, grow, and influence far beyond the limitations of their planet. As emissaries returned with new insights, it became clear that humans were shaping their own narrative. They were not seeking power or recognition in the galaxy, but their actions were already creating ripples of influence. Communities solved logistical challenges, scientists advanced knowledge, and ordinary citizens made decisions that reflected intelligence, creativity, and courage. The Council watched, realizing that humans had become a model of resilience and innovation, a species whose ordinary actions were extraordinary in context. The humans' true strength, the Council recognized, lay in their unpredictability. Number. Simulation. No theory, no technology could fully anticipate human behavior. They responded to challenges in ways that combined intelligence, intuition, creativity, and cooperation. They adapted rapidly, solved problems efficiently, and learned from failures. This unpredictability made them both a potential threat and an object of admiration. The Council understood that humans could not be underestimated. In the final assessment, the Council reached a consensus. Humanity must be respected, observed, and approached with humility. Any attempt to dominate, control, or provoke could have unforeseen consequences. Humans' resilience, adaptability, and intelligence made them unique in the galaxy. Their ordinary lives had demonstrated extraordinary qualities, and their potential could influence civilizations far beyond their planet. The Council had learned that true strength was not measured in size, weapons, or technology, but in creativity, intelligence, adaptability, and courage. The humans themselves continued, unaware of their reputation. Life on Earth carried on with families, communities, and nations working together to solve problems, innovate, and grow. Every small act, from building a bridge to helping a neighbor, revealed resilience, intelligence, and adaptability. Humans' creativity, courage, and